All right, so let's jump into something, maybe something a little dry, at first glance, U.S. foreign aid. But stick with us on this one because this deep dive, oh boy, this one gets really interesting. We're looking into some recent events at USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development. President Trump's making some pretty significant changes there.
Yeah, big changes.
Yeah.
And it's causing quite a stir.
For sure. Yeah, big time. So we've got an article lays out the situation. Basically, Trump is aiming to really cut back the size and spending of USAID.
Right.
Part of his larger thing, cutting federal spending, reshaping government, that whole deal.
Yeah, and it's this isn't just a small tweak, right? This is we're talking thousands of USAID employees potentially being put on leave, signage removed from headquarters. I mean, it's real sense of upheaval.
Yeah. It seems like he's moving pretty aggressively on this. And then there's this whole other thing with Elon Musk
leading a task force called Doge that's focused on government efficiency. And I got to say, that's what really caught my eye. Like what is Elon Musk doing in the middle of all this?
Yeah, it's a curious choice. And I mean, Trump's known for, bringing in these unconventional figures.
Right.
And Musk definitely fits that bill.
Oh, yeah.
But, he's built this reputation as a disruptor,
right.
Someone who challenges the existing systems.
So is the idea that Musk can bring that same, disruptive energy to USAID?
Yeah.
And maybe find ways to make it more efficient?
Well, that seems to be the thinking, yeah. But it is worth noting that Musk's expertise, right? I mean, it lies in primarily in technology and business,
right? Not
in international development. So it really remains to be seen, right, how his approach will translate to this very different context. Yeah, it makes you wonder what is Trump really looking for in a task force leader? Is it really all about efficiency, or is there is there a broader agenda at play?
It's the key question.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Trump has long been critical of foreign aid, right? Arguing that it's wasteful and prone to corruption. He actually tried to halt all foreign aid upon taking office back in 2017.
That's right, that executive order. Right. So this isn't a new stance for him, but it seems like he's taking things a step further now with these concrete actions at USAID.
Exactly. That's right. And it's important to remember what's at stake here, right? USAID is the primary vehicle for U.S. foreign aid. They employ around 10,000 people, most of whom work abroad, and they're involved in a wide range of development and humanitarian projects around the world.
Just to give you an idea, right? USAID played a major role, providing emergency relief, helping rebuild after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti. They provide support for everything, right? From disaster response to agricultural development to
promoting democracy and human rights.
Right, exactly. So these proposed changes at USAID, they could have significant ripple effects.
Wow.
Not just within the agency itself, but for the people, the communities around the world that rely on USAID.
Yeah, it's not just about budget cuts. It's about people's lives.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's been pushback against these moves. Right, unions representing USAID employees filed a lawsuit, arguing that Trump's actions are unconstitutional and that he's overstepping Congress's authority over spending.
Right. The lawsuit basically contends that that Trump is bypassing the legislative process.
Yeah.
And trying to unilaterally dismantle a major government agency. And what's really interesting is that a judge appointed by Trump himself granted a temporary restraining order blocking the immediate implementation of the leave plan.
Right.
So it seems like there's some disagreement even within his own circle about how this is all being handled. Yeah,
the judge's ruling we had cited concerns about potential harm to USAID's mission and the need for a more thorough legal review. So this suggests that the administration may face a significant legal battle if they proceed with these changes.
And then on top of all that, we've got Trump taking to Truth Social, his social media platform, to attack USAID directly. He's called it corrupt and demanded its closure. So it seems like he's trying to build public support for his actions.
Yeah. And these public statements, they're definitely adding fuel to the fire. They raise questions about the extent to which Trump is willing to go, right, to achieve his goals.
Yeah.
And, and the potential implications for the rule of law and the balance of power within the government.
All right, so we've got this dramatic shakeup at USAA, potential legal challenges. Elon Musk enters the scene. Trump using social media to push his agenda. So where do we go from here? What are the potential consequences of all of this?
Well, that's that's where things get really interesting. The U.S. The U.S. is the world's largest provider of international aid. USAID's budget alone is around $40 billion annually, which is about 0.6% of total U.S. government spending. But while that percentage might seem small, the impact of those dollars is, enormous, especially for the countries and communities that depend on them.
And it's not, it's not just about the money itself, right? There's this symbolic element as well. U.S. foreign aid is often seen as a reflection of our values and our commitment to global engagement.
Exactly. And that's why this situation has garnered so much attention, right?
Yeah.
It raises these fundamental questions about, America's role in the world and the future of U.S. foreign policy.
And it's not, it's not just abstract policy debates.
Right.
There are real world consequences. Gail Smith, a former USAID chief, she's been, quite vocal in her criticism of these cutbacks. She argues that that they send a dangerous message to the world, signaling that the U.S. Doesn't care about the well-being of people in developing countries.
Yeah. Smith's comments, they really highlight the ethical dimension of this issue, right?
Yeah.
What are our obligations to people in need beyond our borders?
Right.
What values do we want to project as a nation? I mean, these are questions that we as citizens, need to consider carefully.
So we've got this, this complex web of legal, political, and ethical issues swirling around USAID right now. And it seems like the stakes are pretty high, both for the agency itself and for America's, global standing.
Yeah. It's a story with a lot of moving parts.
Right.
And it's still unfolding. But one thing is for sure, this isn't just about USAID. It's about, America's place in the world. Yeah. And the choices we make as a nation. And there's another piece to this that I find pretty interesting, this potential return of the International Development Finance Corporation.
The DSC.
The DSC. Oh yeah, okay. That does ring a bell, but I can't quite, place it, refresh my memory.
Yeah, so it was actually created during the Trump administration back in 2018, and basically think of it as a development bank.
Okay.
But instead of relying just on government funding,
right,
it uses private sector investment to achieve U.S. foreign policy goals. So instead of directly giving aid, the idea is to kind of encourage businesses to invest in developing countries.
Precisely. Yeah. It's a more market-driven approach to development, the thinking being that it could unlock way more capital for projects than traditional aid programs.
That sounds promising, on the surface, but I'm sure there are some concerns about this approach as well, right? What are some of the potential downsides?
Oh yeah, you're right to be cautious. Critics argue that this approach might end up prioritizing profit over the actual needs of developing countries, and there's a worry that it could give corporations too much influence and potentially lead to exploitation.
So it's kind of a balancing act, right? Trying to leverage the power of private investment without losing sight of the humanitarian goals of development assistance.
Exactly. It's a complex issue. And the success or failure of this approach is really going to, it's going to depend a lot on how it's implemented and regulated.
Yeah, it feels like we're stepping into a really long-standing debate about the role of capitalism and free markets in addressing these global challenges.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, this whole situation with USAI and the potential return of the DFC. I mean, it's a microcosm of that larger debate, right?
Yeah.
It really forces us to confront some fundamental questions about, the relationship between governments, businesses, and the very purpose of development assistance.
And it makes you wonder if if Trump is so focused on shrinking these traditional government programs like USAID, does that Does that suggest like, a greater reliance on this market-driven approach to development going forward?
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. And you know, and that raises a whole bunch of new questions, like how do we ensure accountability when private companies are playing a larger role in development? How do we prevent conflicts of interest and make sure that projects are truly benefiting the communities they're supposed to serve?
These are all big questions, and
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how they play out as the story develops. But let's zoom out a bit, right, and think about the broader implications here. What is this whole USAID shakeup? What does it tell us about the state of U.S. foreign policy and the future of aid in today's world?
It's a fascinating question. I think this situation highlights a growing tension between these two competing visions for America's role on the global stage. On one hand, you have the traditional view of the U.S., right, as a global leader, providing aid and support to countries in need.
And
on the other hand, you have a more inward-looking perspective,
right,
focused on putting America's interests first, even if it means scaling back commitments abroad.
So this USAID shakeup is kind of like a battleground for those two viewpoints.
In many ways, yeah, I think so, and the outcome of this battle, I mean, it could have far-reaching consequences for how the U.S. engages with the world, for years to come.
It definitely adds another layer of, complexity to an already intricate situation. So we've covered a lot of ground here, right? Trump's efforts to downsize USAID, legal challenges, Elon Musk's involvement, this potential return of the DFC, and the broader implications for U.S. foreign policy. It's a lot to digest.
It is, and there's still a lot of uncertainty, right? I mean, the legal challenges could drag on. Congress might push back against the proposed cuts. There are a lot of moving pieces, and it's really hard to predict the ultimate outcome.
But one thing's for sure: the story is far from over. We'll be watching closely to see how it all unfolds. But before we wrap up, there's one more piece of this puzzle that I kind of want to fit in. Remember how we talked about Trump's history of shaking things up, not just shrinking government, but
right.
But actively reshaping it, according to his own vision.
Yes, yeah, that pattern has been, pretty evident throughout his time in office.
Well, it seems like his interest in reshaping government entities goes even deeper than we initially thought. Apparently, he's been expressing interest in taking a more hands-on role in various agencies, even those that traditionally operate with a high degree of autonomy.
And it's not limited to any specific area. I mean, we saw it with the Kennedy Center, right?
Yeah.
And now there are whispers about potential moves involving other cultural or scientific institutions. It's almost as if he's aiming to to exert his influence over this wide swathe of government activities.
So it's not just about efficiency or budget cuts. It's about
control,
about molding these institutions in a way that aligns with his personal vision.
That's a key takeaway here, and it raises some important questions about the balance of power within the government, right?
Right.
What are the implications of a single individual having such a significant influence over institutions that are meant to operate independently? What does this mean for the future of American democracy?
These are some really big questions.
Yeah,
and they take us beyond the immediate situation at USAID, right? Yeah. Into this into this much broader conversation about the nature of power, leadership, and the very fabric of our government. It's a lot to think about, and while we wait to see how things play out with USAID, I think it's worth taking a minute to think about what this all means for our listeners. Like, why should they care about what's happening at USAID, especially if they're not directly involved in development work.
That's that's a really good point. I think this whole situation it it touches on something fundamental about being an American citizen in today's world. It forces us to really consider our values, our priorities, and our responsibilities.
Yeah.
To to people beyond our borders. It's about what kind of nation we want to be.
And it's it's not just about foreign policy. It's about how we want our government to function.
Right.
Do we want do we want a government that prioritizes efficiency above all else, even if it means potentially sacrificing transparency and accountability? Do we want a government that just readily dismisses expertise and experience in favor of outside perspectives? These aren't easy questions, but they're ones we all need to
consider. Absolutely. And this whole situation with USA, I mean, it raises these questions about the balance of power, right? The role of expertise, the importance of democratic processes. These are fundamental issues that affect all of us, regardless of our specific interests or areas of expertise.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought, something to something to ponder. We've seen these two contrasting visions for America's role in the world. One focused on global leadership and providing assistance to those in need, and another that's more inward-looking, prioritizing national interests. So considering everything we've talked about, what do you think the role of the U.S.
should be
in providing international aid?
That's the that's the question that each individual needs to grapple with. There are strong arguments on both sides. Should we focus on efficiency and market-driven solutions, or should we prioritize humanitarian concerns and traditional forms of assistance? It's no easy answer.
It's a complex issue. Lots of factors to weigh, but at the end of the day, the choices we make as a nation, I mean, they're going to have, they're going to have a real impact on people's lives around the world, and that's something worth thinking about.
It is, and I hope this deep dive has given our listeners a new perspective on U.S. foreign aid and all the complex issues it touches on. Maybe it's even sparked a desire to learn more and engage in these these important conversations.
That would be that would be fantastic because like we've seen, these aren't just abstract policy debates. They're about real people, real challenges, and the kind of world we want to create.